Now, being in Long Island City, I'm right next door to Long Island, so that's how I'm able to still work and run the business. The only thing is, I find I get a little bit more fulfilled from the location because I'm getting the scenic views that I want, the price point I want, and the ability to go travel to do the things, the nightlife, the lifestyle, the stores staying open later, the things that I want out of, Long Island that I just wasn't getting. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We have an honest testimonial story for you this video here. It's going to be my personal story of why I left Long Island, why I got sick of it, why I was done with it, and what inevitably chased me out of Long Island. That's it. If you don't like it here, it's the wrong island for you. But you may at the same time be thinking that's contradictory, because how can I be running the largest relocation team in Long Island, but at the same time not want to live there anymore? So I'm going to break down all of it, the surrounding area that I moved to, and why I inevitably will be chased back and living here again in Long Island by the end of summer. And of course, if you're new here, guys, welcome to the channel. This is Moving to Long Island. We are the #1 relocation team for buyers coming in from other states, other cities, different area codes, zip codes. We're happy to help you make that transition as smooth as possible. Tell us what you need. We got the keys. Info is in the description below. Now, to give you just a brief story of my story, I'll keep this under 30 seconds. I was born in Belmore, New York, raised in Belmore, New York, which is in Long Island on the South Shore. Plenty of things to do growing up. Amazing schools. We had amazing sports, extracurricular activities. I was very involved as a kid, and my parents kept it that way. And we would always hang out with the neighboring town kids, such as Massapequa, Belmore, Merrick, Wantagh, Seaford. Along the South Shore, we all got along, very intertwined. Over on the North Shore, they do the same thing over there, whether you're in Nassau or Suffolk County. Now, what I found during my business years and into my late 20s is that I really kind of wanted other things. I wanted to have more things to do. I wanted to have more places to go, places to meet people, and there were certain things, and I've made a little bit of a list here of what I didn't like about Long Island that actually chased me out. So I'm going to get into that list with you right now. And just so you guys know where I moved to, because I still do work all of my business in Long Island, I moved to a little place called Long Island City, which is not actually within Long Island. It's just on the outside. I'm going to circle it right here on the map, right by 25A here. You can take the Midtown right into Midtown Tunnel right into Manhattan, or you go right into Long Island, which is what I do every single day. So the one thing that I found, especially because we work long hours, that I really hated the most was that things on Long Island, and you should know this, close early. A lot of stores, supermarkets, things that you're gonna need to go to buy stuff. If you're even going out on the nightlife, nighttime, you're gonna find that the restaurants and bars and towns and villages start to really close down a bit earlier here. Whereas opposed in New York City, Manhattan, or any of the boroughs, things in the nightlife stay open. You can always get late night shopping done. You can get late night visits done with your friends, go out for dinners, if you go out for drinks, whatever it may be. Long Island, things wrap up here around 10. There are very few places that open until 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturday nights. There are very few towns and villages where you could find that. Now, what I've found, when you're in your young 20s or you're in your teens or you're just at the drinking age, kids can go out there and do that, and some of those places will stay open later. But as you get older and you want to be social and you want to continue your networking, I found that I wasn't able to really get that on Long Island. Number 2 is the traffic here. I've mentioned this in other videos that Long Island and how it was originated was not meant to have so many people on it. So the highways, they're very narrow. Things like the 495, which is the Long Island Expressway, has a lot of lanes on it, but has a lot of commercial traffic. So you're gonna see a lot of 18-wheelers and 22-wheelers over on these highways, which inevitably will still stall traffic still. And there are times where, say, it's approaching the end of the day, maybe it's 4 p.m. and I go to myself, I have to head east. No, we'll just do it tomorrow because the traffic is so heavy. We talk about the rush hour here, eastbound, westbound. Your westbound traffic headed towards Manhattan is usually starting off around 6:30, 7-ish to 9 in the morning, and that whole window, it's roadblocked. It's just gridlocked. Same on the opposite side. If you're headed eastbound, going towards, towards Montauk, that direction, that starts around 4 o'clock and it's going to go until 7:30, 8 p.m. And even on Fridays, we have the works ending early casual Friday traffic, which starts at 1, 2 p.m. So imagine that, just the sheer amount of cars and traffic. And it's actually something that you have to factor into your plans and your transportation plans. So that traffic that you have on those expressways and the highways, it also does translate onto your service roads and your inner kind of city parkways and traveling roads that you would have between town to town here on Long Island. So you end up getting a ton of extra travel time added, depending on if you are just coming from work to home, or if you're going home to work, or if you're just kind of going from home to out, or you want to make plans. It's something you really have to factor in based off of the time that you want to do things. So keep in mind the time that I had mentioned, because it's very big here with traffic and coordination. While we're on the topic of traffic, we're going to talk about the roads here. The roads are known to be awful, and it's because we have wintertime here. When we have wintertime, a lot of the salting trucks, they lay down the salt. The rock salt actually eats up at the pavement, at the asphalt. So you'll notice during the wintertime, a lot of the roads get cracks on them. Then we go into the springtime, you know, as the snow season's finishing, a plow does hit those roads and it tends to break them up. So in the springtime, you see a new wave of potholes, and this is going to be all over your expressways, your parkways, Northern State, Southern State, your Long Island Expressway, the Coast Parkway in Suffolk County, Wanto Parkway, the Meadowbrook Parkway. All of them see a fresh new wave of potholes. And the time of year that I'm filming this, which is right in the spring now, that's when we're seeing our fresh round of potholes. So between traffic and weather, the roads here, they do take a beating. Now what we do find is when they're doing them on major parkways again and redoing the roads, they're doing it so often, and when they do, it oftentimes shuts down a couple lanes, causing even more traffic while they go ahead and repair the roads. And I know this is something that happens everywhere, it has to get done, but the way that we do things here in Long Island, when they keep repeating it season after season, it can get a little bit old, and it's just something that I felt I didn't need anymore. On the topic of winters, and that is something as well. We'll get into a couple of seasons here. Starting with winter. Now, this past winter in 2024, we really didn't have too many snowstorms. Maybe we got about 2 or 3, maybe got about 6 to 7 inches in the biggest one we had. I found over the past few years, Long Island has not been seeing as much snow during the winter time, which is a good thing if you end up, not having to shovel as much, or maybe you happen to like the snow. But we do still have the frigid cold winters just without the snow. So you are seeing the roads get a little bit eaten up, and you are seeing the dead, bare trees everywhere. I personally am not a fan of the wintertime, and a lot of people aren't as well. So I find that most people, when I'm selling their house, they'll actually say about the things that they're relieved about. One of them is no more shoveling, no more cold winters. A lot of people here, they're not like me moving next door when they leave. They usually go to the far south, or they go somewhere where it's just warm, because the winters here really are frigid. This is the process. Are you ready for a Long Island winter? You have to start the car. I happen to have remote start. It's on my phone, the app. I can start the car, but car has to be started, has to be running for about 20 minutes before you can start driving it, because if you just go directly into your car, it's not good for the oils, the engine. You have to let everything kind of circulate and warm up here. So that's like another thing you have to do in the morning. If you don't have remote start, you don't have the app, you are going to your car, walking out in the freezing cold, starting it, walking back in the house. And I don't know if I'm sounding particular or ungrateful here, but that's an annoyance, and a lot of people don't like dealing with that. That's why most people, when they leave, they're out to the south or a warmer place. Since we're on seasons, I feel like we're segueing very well in this video from just thing to thing here. Seasons in the summertime, guys. Now this is going to begin from late spring into the fall here, the beginning of fall. So the whole summer gets this. The mosquitoes. I mean, it is just horrible. When you remember where we are on Long Island here, being that we are an island, we're surrounded by water, there's a lot of condensation, moisture in the air. And what this does is it attracts a lot of mosquitoes. So if you're on any of the shores during the summertime, like the South Shore or the North Shore, you're gonna get a ton of bugs. The mosquitoes in particular have been very bad. I mean, if you're not wearing any bug spray, I've had days where I go out and I have 12 bites up my legs, up my wrists, my arms. So it can be really overbearing if you maybe have an allergy to these bugs, or if you just don't particularly like it, maybe you get a bad reaction. I don't know how it works for everyone, but a lot of people out here, and everybody just knows it. You always have bug spray present. They actually did a study as well. They said that when you go into a new area, the mosquitoes will tend to bite you more. So from the South Shore, you go into like the North Shore, something to do with the ecosystem, this study said, where the mosquitoes will actually bite you more because they want to have the new blood coordinate with the ecosystem. It's crazy, I know. And same vice versa. But if you're in an area for a while, and I've actually seen this, you stop getting bitten by your local bugs. It slows down. They're always there, but you initially go into a new area, you're getting slammed. If you were there for a while, it starts to hold off, starts to pull off just a little bit. So that's something that most most people here have noticed as well. And then we had some science there in that study to kind of back it up. But the mosquitoes were absolutely terrible. I mean, we're getting ready to head into that time of year now, so make sure you have your bug spray on hand. Now, the other thing is the commute to the city, okay? I wanted to be able to be doing more things during the day, during the nighttime, and so I kind of found that when you're going to the city, it is like almost a project from Long Island. You get your tickets to the train station. Now, if you're coming from, let's say, mid-Nassau County, you're right, let's say if you're in the Belmore, Wassapequa range there, or anything on the North Shore, maybe you're up in Roslyn, South, you're talking about 45 minutes to Manhattan. If you're in Suffolk, say a little bit more north, like a Dix Hills, or if you're down south in a Patchogue, you're talking about almost 90 minutes, an hour and a half to get from where you are into Manhattan. Then you get into the same thing going back. So it adds a ton of time. And not only that, but you're going to pay for the ticket as well. So if you're commuting there for your work, if you have like a city job and that's something you're going to be doing regularly, which for the beginning of my career, I was doing things in Manhattan. So it was like I was constantly going there and I hated the commute. The ticket for the railroad by me was $30 and people out in Suffolk were paying $45, $50. And I'm like, this is crazy, especially if you need it at peak times. I'm also going to link our MTA app. It's not ours, but it's the one everyone out here uses. It's how you get your train times, how you can get your tickets, get them scanned on the train. Very easy. If you need to transfer, it's very easy to figure out where you need to go. We're going to link the MTA app in the description below as well. But just that commute, that hassle, and then of course, add the payments on top of it. So it was a lot. Now, some city jobs will actually give this to you in your, job offering where you can get your transportation paid for, get a discount, get an MTA discount if you're buying a monthly pass. I unfortunately didn't have that. It was too much for me, so I ended up moving out to Long Island City, which was just across the Queensboro Bridge. And the other thing that we'll say before you come here and get drastically offended is people here, not overly, conscious of it, have per se an attitude problem. When they're talking to you, they're not necessarily trying to be rude, but it may come across as that. So the people here are very get it done on autopilot, kind of doing their thing. So it may seem initially, especially if you're from like Southern Charm type of area, it may seem like people are giving you an attitude. They don't mean to do that. People don't actually want to give you an attitude. They don't know that they're sounding like that. So that's why that does happen from time to time. So be ready for that. You don't see it coming, but now you do. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did tell you that I am going to be coming back to Long Island. So that is the truth. And coming from Long Island City, I'm going to be going back out, and there are a couple areas I'm looking at, but I'm pretty much sold on a specific location, and I'll tell you why. A lot of the things that I just went over seem to be solved in this general vicinity, and I'm talking about the area of Huntington, Huntington Station, and East Northport and Northport. Now, what I found is a lot of the villages in Huntington, like I've talked about a lot, they come alive enough. There's things to do. The shops, the village, the town stores are open. So late at night when you need to go grab things at the store, the supermarket, you're able to do that. You have a lot of entertainment, not just for teenagers or the bar scene. We're not talking about that. Places you can actually go out and have a quality, good time, and then also, be able to get back to your house quick enough, be able to be within limits and not have to have a huge transportation fest where you're taking the train out, where you're getting in the car, driving a half hour either. Same thing with East Northport. See, what I got from being in Queens was I was right on the East River. I like the water views. I like seeing the skyscrapers. I like seeing that scenery. On the North Shore, I'm able to get that too because you're right by the Sound. So if you're in Huntington, you go up, Huntington Harbor, there's plenty of things to do up there. Same on Northport and the East Northport side, where you're just a quick drive away from actually getting in front of that water, getting in front of a nice view, having a nice restaurant right nearby. Those are the areas I'm looking at in order to kind of discover exactly where I want to end up. Now, what I found as far as pricing goes, that tends to be what people tell me when they're relocating in or out, and they say, well, the pricing here too, it gets very expensive in Long Island. It does also in the boroughs and in Queens. And in Brooklyn, the only difference really is the property size and value. So you're going to pay a lot, but you're still going to be getting a little bit more for it. Meaning if you have more house, you have more of a bigger lot size than you would in the boroughs. That tends to help things even out. And this was a quick one. This was a personal video, but I feel like channels need that. I don't know, but that's my authentic side coming out for you there. Now, being in Long Island City, I'm right next door to Long Island. So that's how I'm able to still work and run the business. The only thing is I find I get a little bit more fulfilled from the location because I'm getting the scenic views that I want, the price point I want, and the ability to go travel to do the things, the nightlife, the lifestyle, the stores staying open later, the things that I want out of, Long Island that I just wasn't getting. And of course, if you're relocating to Long Island, be sure to give us a call. All of our information is in the description below. Tell us what you need. We got the keys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.